Welcome to an episode of the Coffee and Podcast. We are on a quest to cultivate freedom for victims of human trafficking, all while drinking really great coffee. I'm your host, Philip Clayman. I'm also one of the co-founders of Three Tree Coffee in Statesboro, Georgia. And on today's episode, we're going to talk all about food trucks. Food trucks have been popping up all over the past decade, and why not? Seems appealing enough, right? You can take the business wherever you want. There's low overhead. Sounds kind of easy, right? Well, maybe not. I think we're going to learn a lot about what it means to operate a food truck today, and I could not be more excited to have Karissa on as our host. Karissa Tuttle is the co-founder of Simply Done Donuts in Duluth, Georgia, and they have a lot of experience of operating a food truck, and I can't wait to learn more from them. Is it as easy as it sounds? We'll hear from them and find out. Before we dive in, I just want to share real quick. Karissa, I'm super excited to have you on the show. And I just want to share the quick story of meeting y'all for the first time. When we first started Three Tree, we were at the farmer's market exclusively. We did not have coffee shops. And we were just at the farmer's market. And there was one day when we're at the market and this wonderful couple walks up and starts talking with us. And the whole time I'm like, man, these are really cool people and I'm really having a great time. And they're just really neat. And it's Joey and Karissa Tuttle. And y'all say to us, hey, we're actually looking to open up a donut business up in North Georgia. We'd love to talk with you about coffee. And so I just want to share that because to a lot of our listeners, they may not know that you're one of our first wholesale clients that we got way back in the day. And we've loved the partnership. Y'all have just been y'all are an awesome couple. Y'all have an awesome business. And we just love partnering with you. So Karissa, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for being a great partner.
Yeah, and what's crazy about meeting you at that farmer's market, we then disclosed it was in Duluth, Georgia, and then you fill us in on the fact that you grew up there, your family's still there. I'm like, okay, the stars are aligning.
That's right. It's my hometown. You're opening a donut shop, one of my
Yeah.
favorite foods in my hometown. And you and Joey both went to Georgia Southern, which I'm sure we'll unpack as we kind of get into your story. So definitely a lot of overlap of your story, our story, and just love partnering with you. So thank you for the great partnership. And also thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Before we get into Simply Done Donuts world, let's hear a little bit more about you. What's some of your upbringing? What sort of family did you grow up in?
Yeah, so donuts, funny enough, were a big part of that. I probably should have realized much earlier in life, hey, start a donut business. But yeah, so special occasions, we would go get donuts, celebrate. So for me, I always looked forward to that. And I grew up in Dallas, Texas, where at the time there was literally 600 to 800 donut shops in the city, and they all seemed to do well. So then when Joe and I moved to Atlanta, we quickly realized, hey, where are all the donut shops besides the few big guys? Which kind of led us into, we took note of that. Meanwhile, I started a career with AT&T. He started his fitness company. And then by the time 30 came around, 9 years in corporate, I was like, I need a change and I want to do something fun and yummy. And then hence that's where the donuts came in because it was always in the back of my mind. So we decided, why don't we actually start as a food truck so we could keep our day job? I did have a very good job with AT&T and I had the benefits, so I didn't want to lose that immediately. I wanted to test a product and play around with it. And that's why it was good for us to start as a truck. So we did nights and weekends, festivals. That allowed for us to do our two jobs and build up our brand, do a lot of testing in the market, then leading the way into leaving our jobs completely and just doing this full time.
Yeah. So you were still working full time when you started Simply Done Donuts with the
Mhm.
mobile truck. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, we both were for about a year and a half. And then this was another God blessing because AT&T then was looking for people to volunteer for layoffs, and I was going to quit anyway. So I actually signed my name and I got a package to leave.
Little did they know.
I
That's
don't
awesome.
know. Yeah, so that helped greatly in starting the shop in Duluth for sure. So it gave me some peace of mind while we were building that out because it was a brand new space from the floor up. And it took a while.
Yep, absolutely. So was that really the main reason or even the only reason why you started with a mobile truck in 2015 or a mobile cart in 2015? Was it so that you could work full time and it was really just the extra time that you could put into the business? Or were there other reasons that really motivated you to say, let's start here with something that's mobile?
Yeah, a lot of discussions with my mom, and we were brainstorming. We felt it would be smarter to start as a food trailer, very, very low cost to enter. So to start our business with the trailer full build out was about 25 to 30,000. So then I had my business and I could start going versus doing a storefront where it's expensive. So I think our Duluth store was roughly 200,000. But yeah, like it's scary to invest that amount of money not knowing how you're going to do. So I thought it was a very smart first step for us, at least, to test this, and make sure it's going to work, um, and not risk so much money.
Absolutely. So low startup costs was one of the reasons, and I can
Definitely.
definitely resonate with that. So you went to school at Georgia Southern. What did you study there, and did any of that really translate to starting a business?
So I actually went to school in Dallas. Joey went to school at Southern, and we
Forgive
met
me.
in Dallas. Um, but I went to a very small private college and studied business. And my favorite class through college was entrepreneurship. And I had done a lot of little side hustles too. And I just knew at the heart, like I needed to do something for myself. But for me, right out of college, it was great to get a job, get my feet wet, build that income up to keep dreaming and figuring out what I wanted to do. So it definitely, I don't regret the path I took either because AT&T corporate will teach you a lot of things that are super beneficial in your entrepreneurship journey. And one of the main things for me was like communication, because when you're working with higher ups in leadership, you have to know how to communicate effectively, quickly, be to the point. And so I hear that a lot, especially Joey tells people, he's like, the communication does with you in email on events, she's very thorough, precise. So, um, yeah, my journey from college and business to AT&T to now, it's definitely, maybe I'm one of the very few that actually utilizes their degree.
Well, that's really neat. And I have friends with business owners a lot about entrepreneurship, and it's just such a large uh, I guess, thing to really understand or chew on or try to
Yeah.
understand what is entrepreneurship. And something that I've heard before, and I'm curious your thoughts, is it's kind of something you're either born with or not. There's some personality traits that are just there that really make an entrepreneur, versus some people maybe don't have that. Do you agree with that? And did you have any of those traits growing up that you saw in yourself of, man, I really was
Yeah.
driven and I wanted to do my own thing? And what was your experience with that?
I fully believe in this. And I don't know. And it's probably just like how kids grow up wanting to be a firefighter or a doctor. Like there's something that interests them, sparks them at a very young age. But like I started working at 15. I wanted to make my own money. I bought my first car at 16. I moved out at 18. For my brain was always like, I want to make my money, survive on my own. Uh, and then figure out what I want to do along the way. But I was always financially minded. So um, I just learned that at a very young age. And I think that translated into, okay, what's going to provide me an income to live the lifestyle I want, but also do what I want. So I completely believe in this theory.
Mm, absolutely. Sounds like you had a lot of drive at a young age to
Hmm.
make a way for yourself and to kind of try new things and be in a way self-sufficient, but really self-driven is what it
Yeah.
maybe more sounds like.
Well,
Very
and to
self-driven.
be an entrepreneur and run a business, you have to be driven. You cannot just sit back and hope things work out. You got it. You drive through brick walls.
Yeah, no one else is going to ask you to do
No.
something. You got to do it
Uh-uh.
yourself. You got to come up with it. Absolutely. So you start the donut wagon, I believe is what it's called. Is that right?
Yep.
In 2015. What were some of the challenges in that early stage? You just have the donut wagon. There is no brick and mortar. It's a relatively small business at this point. What were
Yeah.
some of the challenges during that time?
Um, oh gosh, the list is long, but now it seems so easy looking back. For one, permitting, I don't think so. At the time, this was almost 10 years ago, the permitting process for food trucks was a nightmare. You had to get a permit for every city, pay for each permit, maintain them yearly. Fire inspections were the same. So, right off the bat, it's a lot permitting wise that you have to maintain and make sure your files are up to date. Um, Another one was for us learning the mechanics of a trailer. It drives very different from a truck, from a vehicle. And the physics of it, you learn very quickly how to maneuver that thing. And you also need to strap and make sure everything is locked down. Otherwise, you have oil everywhere, which our very first event, Matt Wise, who you know in Statesboro, he happened to be there, and I'm just crying because we left our donut fryer on top of the table, thinking, "Oh, it'll be fine." And we went to drive away, and oil just went everywhere, and I was like, "Oh my god!" In retrospect, we're idiots. So yeah, it's just like a lot of heavy lifting. There is a very big, there's a lot of business side to it in terms of all the inspections, fire inspection, health inspections, permits. Um, but yeah, once you get it down, then it's easy, of course, like anything else.
Absolutely. You don't know what you don't know. And yes, with our little coffee trolley, we have experienced many times where it's like, wow, you didn't think that would fall over, or goodness, stuff breaks, right? Stuff
Yes.
breaks. Everything
Yep.
breaks faster when it's bouncing on a road. And so
Yeah.
repairs are much more common. So definitely I resonate with a lot of that.
Yeah,
Um,
just a minute ago, I told Joe, "Hey, you need to check the screw on that espresso machine. I mean, it's a $20,000 espresso machine. I don't want it to fall." So he's like, "Oh yeah, I gotta go check the screws because everything is screwed in, and the more you drive, the more things fall apart."
Nice. So a big learning curve, I'm sure, of just how do we strap things down? How do we travel safely? The mechanics of a trolley. I love how you put it that way. And then
Yeah,
yeah, the permitting, which has changed a lot recently.
it
There's now been a
has.
lot of Georgia laws that make it easier to go county to county and sell product through a food truck. So that's really neat. And I think you were the one of the ones that actually first sent me some of that information. So
Hmm.
that's great news for the food truck world. If anyone out there is looking to start a food truck, that has gotten a little easier on the permitting side, but
Yeah.
still, for anyone starting a business, that is a big jump. It's just permitting and licensing and things of that nature.
Yes, definitely.
Um, okay, so then 2017, you have an opportunity to start a brick and mortar shop, your first storefront. Help us
Hmm.
unpack that story for us. What was that like? How did the opportunity come about, and why did you say yes?
Um, okay, so why we said yes, being a food truck, you get to test all these various cities, towns, and then you quickly start to realize who actually accepts your product and brand the best. And having gone a year and a half through Atlanta and tested all these different markets, we settled on Duluth because they always showed up very strongly for us. And like, maybe it makes sense to start a shop here. And then lo and behold, this was another, I felt God calling because there was this new Parsons Alley development coming in right on the town green of Duluth. And that's exactly where we would take our truck for these festivals and events. And I quickly reached out and they had a space for us. And I'm like, wow, this would be perfect. And we loved the community. And for us at the time, we really wanted to be a part of a community, and that already knew us. We loved them back. That would continue to support us. So we signed the lease. Man, scary is an understatement because we knew nothing about building a space. We literally built a space. It wasn't going into a space with walls and just taking over already a used space. It was brand new. So I learned so much from leasing agreements, drawings, diagrams, the build out structurally. It really, really tests you, and it's a very, very challenging, humbling process. A lot of tears for sure, but I knew that's where we were supposed to be. Like Joey and I didn't regret it. It was where we were led.
Absolutely. And with a build out process, it's funny how you think having complete control of the layout would be a blessing. And in ways it is, right? Like you
Hmm.
can determine where everything goes. So you can make sure it's perfect, quote unquote.
Yep,
But right in that is the challenge of there really is never perfect. And there's so many options and choices, and it can be overwhelming of
indeed.
golly, I don't know, should the point of sale be there or here? Should the refrigerator be there or here? There's a lot of stress that goes into those decisions.
Yes.
Um, and so then you opened the shop, and how did it go when you first opened? Was there good receptivity? What was that like?
Yeah, I remember our first day, and Joe was on the truck. He didn't even get to experience it, but we had a line all day. And I just, in the moment, for those first few weeks, months, it was chaos. There was no sleep, working every shift. I overhired and I overstaffed. And now I'm much better at that, of course, but you don't want to disappoint people. You want to be prepared. So you do things in a little excess, maybe. But I just remember it flying by. But I was emotional because I was still new in the business. I wasn't strong at the time, uh, not like I am now because everything is new. So you're being challenged emotionally during these experiences. And I remember just crying on the phone a lot because a lot of people go to social and give you bad reviews when you're first opening. Whether you have experience or not, people need to have a little patience and grace for new businesses because it's a massive learning curve and you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be hiccups. And I went into this business wanting to make people happy. So when I saw how disappointed some of these folks were, I mean, there were a lot of happy people, but I took to heart the ones that were so upset. Fast forward to now, I realize I can't please everybody, but that beginning of the journey was so rewarding to see how people were coming to support us, and at the same time, very emotionally challenging um, through all those little ups and downs that came with it.
Oh, it's so true. And I can recall some of those moments too when you first create something, you're so proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to separate you from the business. It's like it's all one because you're putting
Hmm.
so much time, so much money, so much effort
Yep.
into this thing. And so when someone leaves a review, even a 4-star review, 3-star review, it can feel like they're reviewing
Hmm.
you, right? It's
Yeah.
like, what? I didn't do good enough, you know?
Getting punched in the stomach, and yeah, it hurts your heart. Because
Yeah,
behind it,
absolutely.
I would bet behind 99% of businesses are good humans who truly care. And if you just reach out and express your concerns, they're more likely to probably help you fix it. And they want to fix it.
Mm, absolutely. And it seems like you alluded to that over time, you've really found a place to be able to kind of handle that emotional burden and not taking it to heart. What do you think has kind of helped contribute to that change? Where in the beginning, it all feels so personal, and I was the same way. Whereas maybe now that you've been doing this a long time, what brought that change?
I'm going to tie it to just the more experience, the stronger you get. Um, and as you know, like through COVID, this pandemic, and now, everything going on in the economy and the climate in some of these places, you learn to pivot and you get stronger. And then you reflect back and you look at the business 9 years later that you've built, and you know the amount of people you've made happy. You're a part of weddings and birthdays, mitzvahs, anything and everything, and everyone's pleased. I think now it's just, I know we've touched thousands of people within this time, and now there's only just a few upset people. I can live with that. The percentage is in my favor. So,
Nice.
and I think too, now people have realized and are voicing for small businesses that customers are not always right. They are not. Um, I truly feel like I care enough to want to make things better. If you have a bad experience, holler at me. I will truly fix this and make it to where you want to come back. If they don't want to give me the time of day, then they're not meant to be my customer, and that is okay. But I'm to a point now where in 9 years, we've just been through everything and we come up on top. And so I think that's just built my confidence. And so when I get these reviews, and it hurts, yes, but most of the time you also find that people are just emotional when they leave these reviews, and they're taking it out on you.
Mm,
But I would just cock it up to like, it's confidence, it's experience, give it time.
absolutely. That's really great advice. You mentioned the pandemic. So let's talk about it for a minute. Obviously, a life-changing time for basically everyone, and especially small businesses. If anyone's listening, I'm sure you've heard some of the stories, but it was a very challenging time for small businesses to survive. So, Karissa, what was that like for Simply Done? And what were some ways that you got creative to pivot through that time?
Um, yeah, I don't know if you ever saw the videos that I had posted on my Facebook page, because I remember the beginning of March of 2020, immediately people started pulling they wanted their money back from the events we had booked for the next 6 months. And I immediately knew this is going to be bad. And I quickly just started letting people be aware, hey, go support your small businesses. We are all refunding. I could not hold on to people's money. We refunded everything and then had to let people go. So then we suddenly, Joe and I are like, what should we do? We posted on Instagram, hey, we want to start doing donut deliveries because no one was leaving their house. And then all of a sudden we had multiple neighborhoods signing up for donut deliveries, and they were about as much as we were making when we were opening the shop. So we had less staff. It was just Joe and I. We were still doing donut deliveries. We didn't have any food truck events happening. So we were able just to focus at the shop and do those deliveries. But what's funny is then all this pushed us into doing online ordering. We did not have that in place. I was literally manually writing everyone's orders down for the first 3 months of COVID. And then I was like, no, we need online ordering. This is a nightmare. And so it pushed us into that. And then, into 2021, we all start to see the supply chain issues happening. Then inflation start happening. And our first 5 years, we never raised prices. We had to raise prices. So we started doing that. And knock on wood, we've never had a complaint. And I think people understand why we're having to do what we're doing. But today we've had, every year now, we have to raise our prices. So the word that always comes to mind, especially now, is pivoting or pivot, because every year since opening, you learn and you have to pivot. You have to do something different. You learn from all these experiences, and that's just back to the whole confidence thing. When you've been knocked down so many times and you're forced to get back up, you get the confidence because it makes you better. everything along the way has made us better.
Mm, absolutely. And it's so neat. Sandwiched in that story was, even in the midst of these challenges, it does create innovation. It forces innovation. And so you even saying online ordering, right? Like this is something we're going to add because we have to add it. And now maybe it's even a good feature that you've been able to hold on to and keep, and it gives convenience to the customer. But love you sharing how it just creates resilience, just creates that strength to keep fighting through.
Hmm.
Um, so then, right now, so far in your story, we've got one brick and mortar shop and a food truck, maybe two at this point. But
Two.
two. Okay, so there's two at this point. Compare and contrast just the differences, some differences that come to mind of the storefront versus the mobile. You've alluded to some of them already, but if you were to kind of really put them up against each other, how are they similar? How are they different?
Okay, I'll start with the different. A storefront is a lot of overhead, and we hear that a lot, but the storefronts, brick and mortars are just getting more and more challenging. Costs are going through the roof. Leasing costs, if you want to own a property, it's uber expensive. Um, Insurance costs for a store, then just running a store and staffing it. And then the things that don't come with the food truck is all these sort of charges and fees for a storefront. So, for example, we have a patio. There's a patio payment you have to pay every year. We share, our building is connected to other buildings, so we share gas. So you have those bills, and it's based off square footage. Then the same with water and utilities. So the cost to run a storefront, especially one our size, it's about 1,500 square feet. It's a lot, and it's not really something yes, you think about it going into it, but there are a lot of little things you just don't know until you do it. And then, um, but in terms of like the mobile aspect and the storefront, we're selling the same products, giving the same experience. To me, the food truck is also a great marketing tool for the storefront and vice versa. So they go hand in hand. When I'm at the shop and people are like, "You have a food truck," because they'll see the celebrities on the wall, and the sets that we've done, they're like, "You have a food truck? Can I get a business card?" And then their company will have us for an event, or they'll have us for a birthday, or flip it. And when we're on the truck, Joey's always handing out business cards to where our storefront is. And then now they know we have a permanent location if they can't find the truck. So they work great together.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So there's plenty, I guess, uh, different and alike.
Yeah. Now, you just mentioned that you have a little bit of a celebrity wall. I know that y'all go to lots of movie sets and things like that. What's one of the coolest celebrities you've ever met? The one that was just like, "Oh man, I cannot believe this happened."
That's an easy one. Mine was Mark Paul Gosselaar, who was Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, when eh, I knew we were going to his set, and then I was decorating, so my back was to the window, and Joe's like, he's walking up, and I just got so excited because growing up an 80s baby and watching Saved by the Bell, like, Zach Morris and Kelly. And so every girl had a crush on Zach. And he was the nicest guy. He took us on the set and gave us a tour. And then he had us back out again. So that was a really, really good moment for me.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yes, and love some good Saved by the Bell. Mr. Belding, that would have been pretty fun if he
Yes.
showed up also. But awesome. So then let's get to the next part of your story. And with anyone's personal story and with all business stories, there's successes, there's failures, which I'll put in quotations, because you never really know what maybe that's producing or what opportunities it presents. But I want to talk about the Tampa Bay location because a little further on in your journey, y'all decided to open up a coffee shop a donut shop in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like that went exactly as you had hoped, but I want you to speak into that. What was that journey like, and what did you learn from that?
Uh, that journey was a painful, painful one. I think I learned pretty quickly that we shouldn't have jumped into a storefront so far from us. We should have probably focused within the Georgia area, Atlanta area at least, where we already had a brand. When you move into a market that has, they don't know you, they don't know your product, and it's a tourist state, it's expensive, and so there was a lot that came with it, but it's super challenging, especially when you're not spending the marketing dollars like some of the big guys to get your name out there. It makes it really, really hard for your store to survive. Um, then tie in, my mother-in-law was having some health issues. We're 4 years into the lease, and I was like, this isn't going to work. She's killing herself. Like, the doctors are like, she cannot be doing this. So we then we found someone to sublease the space and take over the remainder of the lease, which was great. And they're currently open, but I learned a lot from that. Um, was it a failure? I guess some would say yes, the store didn't stay open and we had to close, but we learned a tremendous amount. I now understand better how Florida works business wise. I know it helped us kind of um, rethink about our strategy for our business. So now we focused more into doing our food truck model here locally within the state of Georgia. Um, uh, Tampa has a truck now, but that's because mom's retirement. She just wanted to work her own schedule. So she's healed and she's better. So she has a truck. We gave her our original one so she can work it however she wants and be closer to home. So that works out great for her. But yeah, it led us to actually kind of fine tune our business strategy going forward, which has helped us a lot.
Wow. Well, I just remember I was super impressed with that whole journey. And I know the shop did not stay open, but I actually remember visiting the shop in
Yeah,
Tampa. And I just love y'all's drive and your fearlessness to try things. Because in business, you're either that or you're not successful, right? Like you have to
yeah,
take risks, you have to go jump after things. And so I was really inspired by that, that y'all were willing to take that jump and that risk. And it didn't pan out in certain ways, but it seems like it brought a lot of fruit and a lot of good things that y'all took from it as
indeed
well.
it did. Thanks, Philip. Yeah,
Yeah. Which now brings us to now. So you have 3 food trucks, is that right? And
total.
you're
Currently built out. Yes.
okay, and you're looking to add more. So I guess just let us do, I guess to kind of close this up, what is your vision? What's your hope for the next 5 years, 10 years? Is it just food trucks all over the place, more brick and mortars? What's your vision?
Yeah. So, my goal this year was to launch the Tampa truck for my mother-in-law, and she's actually our first franchisee. And she just opened up a month ago. And then we currently have our truck here, Sprinkles. She's already been operating. And then our next truck is just about done. I'm hoping to actually get that going in Statesboro. And then we've already bought two more trucks. So they're just sitting and waiting to be built. My idea is to put these in college towns. Where there's always a lot of events happening, a lot of kids who need work and want to make money. Because I remember when I was in college too, I just wanted to eat yummy things, enjoy my life as a college kid. And so that's kind of my plan going forward. We'll see if that happens. There's probably a lot of struggles to come with trying to nail that down in college towns that I don't know yet. So um, it's very early, but I do know even if that doesn't work out, we have plenty of areas here throughout Atlanta and North Georgia that would like to have us. So I have some good backup options. But brick and mortars for us are not our game plan unless we can find those locations with drive-throughs. But they're very challenging to get because the bigger brands snatch those up pretty quickly and they own them, and I would love to own them. But they're pretty pricey because they know the traffic flow that those locations bring. So yeah, I think going forward, we'll just focus on the food truck model. We got it down 9 years later, so I know that's something we're very good at. And truthfully, in our 9 years, and oh my gosh, I don't want to jinx myself, but um, we haven't had one bad experience because we know how to do these events. So I think it makes sense for us to just focus on that model.
Mm, absolutely. Well, y'all do seem to have perfected it. It's awesome just watching y'all from afar, but y'all have such a great product. Y'all have such a great personality, and I'm super pumped for y'all. So, just Karissa, thank you so much for being on the show
Thank
today, and I
you.
appreciate you sharing more about your story with us.
Yes, thank you so much. And to be your partner has been amazing. And I do need to say this. The amount of times every day we serve the coffee, people are like, "This coffee is so good. It never stops." So yes, killing the coffee game too.
Awesome. Awesome. That's so encouraging to hear. So, I
Yeah,
appreciate you
so
sharing.
we'll have it. I mean, we're gonna keep with every truck, doing the coffee and the donuts. So that's the game plan.
Awesome. Well, I love it. Once again, thank you so much. You have an awesome business model. The last thing is, Carissa, how can people learn more about Simply Done? How can they follow you and learn more to stay in tune with your story?
Yeah, definitely. Please check out our Instagram. It's Simply Done Donuts. We're on TikTok and Facebook, all the same name. You could always email us, eat@simplydondonuts.com, or check out our website too if you want to book the food truck.
Awesome. Cool. So y'all definitely go check those out. Go show them some love. Follow them on Instagram, social media, things like that. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for staying tuned. I hope you learn more about the uniquenesses of running a food truck. It's got its challenges, but it's got its rewards as well. And I hope you learned a lot from today's episode. As always, thank you for listening and thank you for helping us cultivate freedom.